And it happened. It was the finals. It was an upset. Hi. This is Vision Denial and our daily sweepers. I'm freshly showered, good and woken up, having watched history be made. Kind of happy I was wrong. We'll get to that. Hi, I'm Sam. This is our daily sweepers, likely the last video of the channel for the year. Uncertain, we might be able to do a podcast Vision Denial afterwards about a retrospective of the year. But for the moment, this is the last one. And, oh boy, what a best of 5. If you had watched it, likely me doing a synopsis of my notes would be kind of redundant. Most people would have watched the finals at the very minimum. And so instead, think of this as like an elongated set of final thoughts. I did not write any notes because I didn't think it would be necessary watching this. Granted, I also thought it was going to be a 3-0, and it wasn't, right? For those watching, it was 3-2 for EDG. And if that's spoilers for you, I don't know why you're watching particularly, but it was, to honestly, quite close and really surprising. Now, a couple of things also to note over here. I'll be putting highlights of all of the games that played. They were made by the VCS, and go support them. They are awesome. They haven't played an international scene in quite some time, and honestly, they kind of deserve it. So, go help them out. And without further ado, how did I enjoy the game? Well, quite a bit, actually. I was rooting, to be frank, for Damwon Kia. I really wanted them to win. Not just because of the con story, but because I honestly thought that I preferred how they were playing the entire year round, even including in spring. And I really had them as first. It would have helped my pick'ems. That's like less of a reason, but I did honestly enjoy this team. And so, like, seeing them lose, a little heartbreaking, but if you're an old-time LPL fan, like I am, I'm an old LPL fan at least. I've not been super hot with the region recently, but I still enjoy their antics. And back in the day, this would have been awesome for EDG. The villains, to say, of the LPL. Q meme, you must be truly desperate to come from my help. And like story-wise for Scout and for Mako, both of these players, this is like a long time coming for both of them. And honestly, this is awesome for them. Either way of who won, I would have been happy. I'm a little bit more saddened by Damwon's loss than if EDG had lost. But this is still pretty cool. Edward Gaming is an old legacy team. This isn't like a new era team of Invictus Gaming and FPX getting the trophy, and everybody's like all abuzz about like, ooh, it's the new kids on the block. It's the new kids. This is like a tried and true juggernaut of the region as a first seed going off against another first seed and winning. And by no accounts of like, oh, Damwon played bad. No. Both sides had their little hiccups here and there. But this was like head-to-head, near max power for both of these teams. Things that I think were cool. Both teams did pretty well in terms of adapting from pick and bans. There were some questionable decisions here and there. I think that sometimes Graves being picked fairly early hurt some lane matchups, but honestly, it tend to not matter very much based off the rest of the draft in a lot of these cases. I really enjoyed that they dropped a lot of the continuous bans for Twisted Fate every game and for Aphelios every game. I think it was really good to see both of these teams leverage power picks in some way. And I think it was a catch-22 because Damwon had to ban strong power picks out of EDG to succeed on a lot of these games. And it probably hurt their momentum in terms of like leveraging power picks because EDG could just ban any power pick that would have been generally good on both sides or opted to not do so if they were on the red side. And EDG really had the leg up in terms of draft, and it really definitely demonstrated that they were very well prepared going into the series. Showmaker played out of his mind. Like, no doubt about it. Like, he was definitely not the highlight feature. But really looking at how he played, especially during the losses, and you can tell he is trying so hard, so absolutely hard to get these games in places that really benefit them. And my goodness, like if it's anything to come by, it showed. for lack of a better term. JJ, on his term, in many parts of this series looked underwhelming, but this is the big, huge, like asterisk to this statement. Came through in moments that mattered more than anything else. Because a lot of these games came down to neutral objective control. And like this has been a theme for me in the last couple of these videos. It's like the team who has single strongest control around the jungles and choke points and neutral objectives usually wins. And for the most part in this series, this was the case. I thought it was really weird that EDG would give up a lot of neutral objectives. And Damwon usually got away with a lot of stuff that they shouldn't have. And EDG on their part, when they actually set up for things, did incredible setups, even if they just randomly gave it up. This was a strong showing by EDG for neutral setups. And it blew me it blew me away how freaking good they were at the neutral objective game this series. I honestly did not expect it from them. Their vision game was leagues stronger than Damwon's. Straight up, this in any part about like team fighting, I've talked about how team fighting, every team except for I think Humble Life was like a team fighting team, and so like it's to be expected to have every team be good at it, and some just like marginally stronger than others. And so like I don't think team fighting really was the difference maker, because any given one who had properly set anything up tend to come out positively ahead. But a thing that I did not expect to have like an advantage was the vision. I expected Damwon to have continuous aggressive vision. I expected them to like have full control of the wave manipulation, and oftentimes they ended up being trapped by their waves because of the picks that they had drafted, to the point where like EDG were the team with aggressive vision that were first to the play, that were first to any setup that was given, and they would randomly give stuff up, right? But when it mattered the most for many of these games, they came through and won. And it would be rare for Damwon to be the like ahead of the pace in a lot of these series. Early game where I expect Damwon to make these tiny fringe decisions that would bring them ahead and avoid losses almost never happened. EDG had advantages early game, even if it was slight or minor. They had better setups for their neutral objectives. Their vision control and vision denial was out of this world. And I personally think that EDG came through after a very messy series last week. A lot of people, okay, the vast majority of people were certain that Damwon Gaming 3-0 or 3-1. Some people probably were like 3-2. It was and I kept saying that you would have to be delusional or a fanboy to expect EDG to win, given what we've seen. Somebody tweeted out that they had made a video that their stats would have said otherwise, and it would have been a 3-2, and they predicted it perfectly. And kudos. If your stats analysis came to that, that would have been great. There are aspects of the game, however, that expressed it otherwise. I'm going to pause my video here because Amethyst probably wants the window. No? You good? Yeah, she'll figure it out. And so, game 5 rolls around. I'm nervous. I'm trying to figure out what would be the best approach for any of these things. And I kind of wait and watch nervously. I'm like, either team winning is cool. It's all awesome. But, like, it's nerve-wracking. Damwon does a sneaky Baron, but loses out into a team fight trying to contest for any particular, like for Elder Drake. And it just goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then Edward, like EDG, finally get like a solid foothold. And it's really difficult to like feel certain that they've won the game because the gold lead is not that big. It's 3,000, sure, but like at 30 plus minutes, that doesn't mean as much as it's supposed to. And the game they keep getting like marginal leads, and not by like any mistake by Damwon, but because like they're meeting their win conditions where they're supposed to be met. And this was just straight up awesome. It was straight up awesome. And I'd have moments where I'm like, no, Beryl, Khan, what, no. But at the same time, I'm like, holy shit, the Mad Lads, they're doing it. They're doing it. And they close out, both of these teams close out their games so well. And both of the teams are like, they're approaching, like, neither team, I think, ballooned their lead super well, but I don't think it, like, in a matter of speaking, like, because they were bad at it, but because their opponents were responding to them just beautifully on every go and every turn. And some people will say this was the best, like, finals of World's history. And, like, I would counter, Season 2 is pretty phenomenal. Season 6 is equally phenomenal. And there's some, even if they're like the Season 3 World Championship final is historic in many sense of like being the catalyst of like the Korean era of League of Legends. And now I think this is like a turning point. This is a point where I think anything goes. And many people talk about the format of the tournament being just awful. But because everybody thought that the T1 versus Damwon was definitely the first place, I included, thought that that was the first place match. And that the Gen G versus EDG was the second place match. Boy, is everybody wrong. Or most people are wrong. I just find myself going, well, how good are some of these other teams that couldn't play the bracket stage? What would a loser's bracket looked like? How would a T1 coming back up maybe have looked if they had beaten Damwon on the back end and came from finals to beat EDG. How many North American teams would probably been super competitive? EDG barely beat 100 Thieves in one of those games. Now, granted, best of one formats are tenuous at best. But in any circumstances, it's hard to even imagine what the actual ranking of many of these teams are. It's really hard. And you can make some arguments here or there for whatever reason, but the very fact that Edward Gaming beat Damwon not just in like a convincing manner, but in a manner that was competitive, in a competitive fashion, and in no way was this like an upset to meet all upsets. Yeah, this was an upset. But this wasn't an upset in the sense of like somehow this was Damwon's series to lose at any given point and they just dropped the ball. The results would usually say that and the expectations would say that. But the actual game itself, watching it, at no point did I think that Damwon was throwing the game away more than I thought that EDG was stepping up to the plate and outplaying Damwon. And Damwon had not lost footing. There are moments where they look like shaken, like they weren't expecting this level of play. Like they were expecting this level of play out of T1, and they were expecting this level of play out of like for one game out of Mad Lions. But overall, I don't think I think it took them by surprise on the how prepared they were, on how prepared they were, on like many fronts of like how they managed the wave manipulations and how they used that to create priorities for their neutral objectives and when they chose to do their neutral objectives. This is honestly such a solid go from EDG. It was just really good. And at no point do I think it's deserving to say that Damwon gave it away. Damwon fought tooth and nail, especially in that Game 5, to make it. And honestly, I couldn't ask for a better... I said, literally, as the tournament was just going to start, right before it had the chance to, after all the playoffs had finished, and I was talking to, and I was doing these videos with Josh and Connor, this is the most competitive Worlds ever. And I am so happy that our best of fives demonstrated that in full force. Where people thought Damwon were just so far above and beyond everybody that only T1 can compete against them, that EDG came by and said, no, that's not the case. That Mad Lions showed incredibly close games. That Cloud9 had moments of like showing weakness against them. Every team facing up against Damwon showed competitiveness, and every other groups and best of five showed incredible competitiveness. Except for the T1 Humble Life best of five. But there might be some people who are detractors going like EDG, we're lucky, they just kind of like sneaked it away. No. EDG, well deserved. You guys are the champions. And honestly, I might rewatch this best of five. Like later down the week, just rewatch it and just like catch these little nuggets that I might have missed. Because this was, and I usually don't rewatch BO5s, but this was really good. I was surprised game 1. Game 2, expected. Game 3 was closer but expected. Game 4, bewildered and like impressed. in Game 5 on, like, nervous on the edge of my seat. And honestly, this was the best way to end the most competitive year and probably the best world championship. May not necessarily be, it might be a contender for the best finals, but this was definitely the best world championship. And hopefully the format changes next year so that we can have an increase in quality and even better one next year. I know that this was really rambly. I did not have very fluid thoughts on everything. But I didn't write notes because I wanted to enjoy it. I had my cake, had some drinks, watched it with friends, had some great discussions, and I have my thoughts. And honestly, I would love to hear yours as well. For those of you who watched any and all of my videos across this year, I greatly appreciate the journey. I'll keep doing this next year, maybe adapting some parts of the format. But overall, I loved the experience of it. And I got a greater, deeper appreciation for some of the more minutiae that I usually take for granted, but I got to express and do here. So, how did you think of the finals? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. If you want to, like and subscribe, but there may not be more videos until next year. I might make one in December. I say this all the time. There are video ideas that I have, but I don't know if I'll have the chance. But if you do want to like and subscribe for when spring of 2022 comes around and their playoffs show up, I'll be here, ready to cover every single playoff and be right there with you. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, wherever that might be.